the number of television advertisements promoting gambling, but they also, most of them, seem to have some element of cautionary words. I mean, there's some moments where they say, limit your stakes, we'll tell you when you've been on for too long or whatever. What about all these ways in which it seems that gambling firms are trying to educate their clientele not to spend too much, not to become obsessive?
Responsible gambling programs are loved by industry executives simply because they emphasise interventions like player education that have very little impact on profits. And companies also emphasise their treatment of people and the availability of treatment to people who've already been harmed by gambling rather than the prevention of that harm. So there are much more effective measures which have shown to reduce harm, and these are strongly opposed. Things like limits on stakes, reductions in the speed of play, carded play. My own experience of a code of conduct that came in when bookmakers were trying to resist the reduction in stakes of fixed odds betting terminals was that it had absolutely no connection to our experiences in the shops. You know, I was working as an unpaid cashier. There was a lot of anxiety around the machines at the time. There was a lot of violence directed towards them, fights and so on in the shops. And the code that the Industry Trade Association had issued to sort of solve some of these problems involved cashiers and managers walking around the shop asking people about their gambling. You know, that looks very good for policymakers, but in the shops, we would just laugh about it. The idea that we would go out and when someone's smashing up a machine and hand them a leaflet was just absurd.
On behalf of the gambling industry, I mean, you argue it's got only light touch regulation, but I noticed that there were, I think, approximately £20 million in fines last year, and that was for failing to protect customers and to properly do money laundering checks. So that seems to suggest that really bad practices in this industry aren't being ignored.
It does sound like a huge amount of money to ordinary